What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue our coverage over the X-Men. And we now pick up with X-Men Annual number 97. Now, just in case anybody out there kind of wondering like why I didn't cover X-Men Annual issue number 96, the reason why, because I can't find it. And unfortunately, when it comes to our coverage in the late 1990s for X-Men comics, most of the comics in the late 1990s have not been reprinted or collected or even really out there to find online. So unfortunately, when it comes to our X-Men coverage, I might have to skip over a few issues, but like, don't worry. I feel like knowing Marvel with the idea of them trying to push out all these different omnibuses, sooner or later, we're going to get our chance to cover like all those missing issues. Like, for example, the second half to X Factor. And so as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we do pick up with Magneto and also Bobby Drake, better known as Iceman. Now, for these two characters, you do have Iceman right now and also Magneto trying to run away from a crowd of people. Now, at first, we're kind of left to believe that maybe it's a bunch of cops who are trying to chase them down, or possibly a crowd of people who hate on mutants so much they want to beat down on them. But we kind of find out that's not the case, really. That in reality, it's Magneto and also Iceman running away from a crowd of young girls who wanted Iceman. And the reason why, because they found him attractive. Now, this part right here kind of tells us right off the bat there's something going on with the X-Men. And the reason why, because for Bobby Drake, it does seem like he's a well-known person in the area. Like he's very popular, some kind of supermodel. But either way, you do have these girls surround Magneto and Iceman to get his autograph and of course get pictures with him. And that trend kind of continues on a whole lot more, because when you do have Magneto and Iceman go back over to school of Charles Xavier, you do have Gambit right now in the kitchen, you know, doing his thing. But while in the kitchen, you have Rogue there as well. Now, with Rogue being there and also Gambit, you have the two talking and acting like they are officially a couple again. Now, that's kind of weird, because earlier in our coverage, we had talked about the idea that around this time in Marvel Comics, for Rogue, she kind of went back and forth between Gambit and also Magneto. And so to see her kind of be all over Gambit, and matter of fact, the idea that she can touch and kiss Gambit without, you know, her powers being activated, kind of tells us again that there's something going on with the X-Men at the moment. And really, the only person who realized that is Joseph, better known as Magneto, around this time in Marvel Comics. And that trend kind of continues on with Beast as well, because for Beast, he's in his lab at the moment, still trying his best to figure out how to cure the legacy virus. And then while you have Beast just continuing to run tests, he finally finds a cure for the legacy virus. So it seems like everything is going great for the X-Men. And that right there kind of tells us, okay, there's something going on, right? Now, another example will be the idea that you have Joseph walking into the next room where he does run into Sam Guthrie, Cannonball, watching television. Now, when it comes to Cannonball here, on the news he's watching right now, we learn that Bastion has been arrested. Now, this is pretty huge. And the reason why, because around this time in Marvel Comics, you had Marvel building up their way to the Operation Zero Tolerance crossover. So the idea of Bastion being arrested, but also the idea that you have the Friends of Humanity being shut down as well by the US government is really huge here, because it really shows the X-Men are continuing to win left and right. Now, the biggest surprise in this storyline right here, or the early part of the storyline, would be Cyclops, because you do have Scott walking into the room, but now being able to control his optic beam. And so for Magneto, he does ask Scott, like, hey, where are your glasses? But for Scott, he's like, what? Glasses? I never had to wear glasses at all. What in the world do you truly mean? But you also have Beast come down and begin to celebrate the idea that he had discovered the cure to the legacy virus. And so for Magneto, these two examples right there is kind of like, okay, we are winning way too much at a very fast pace. there's something going on, but unfortunately for Magneto, he can't put his finger on it. Now, you do have Joseph go over to Wolverine. Now, when he does, it's really more of Magneto trying to get that confirmation that there's something going on when it comes to the X-Men at the moment. Now, for Wolverine and Joseph, Magneto here, they have some issues, the whole idea of fatal attractions, but it's still Magneto believing that maybe, just maybe, it is one person here at the school who might realize there's something up. It would be Wolverine, except for Logan. He does not get that confirmation over to Magneto. Instead, it's Logan saying like, well, you've been a soldier your entire life. You've been at war your entire life, fighting for the rights of the mutant race. But the thing is, you don't realize that now you can finally rest. So just relax and chill. And so for Joseph, at first, it does seem like he does believe that when it comes to Wolverine saying that maybe he should relax. But at the same time, it's still Joseph believing that there's something going on with the X-Men. Now, as he walks away, for Wolverine, he shows us that he's trying his best to fight against some kind of mind control. Now, I love the idea of Joseph not giving up, because right after he left Logan behind, you then had Joseph go back inside the school and look at all these different pictures of the X-Men over the years, except one of the pictures does catch his eye. It's the first class of the X-Men, which should be Angel, Beast, Iceman, Cyclops, and Jean Grey. The problem is Jean Grey is not there. And for Eric, or really Magneto, he's kind of like, wait a second, where in the world is Jean Grey in this picture? Matter of fact, where is Jean Grey? But this kind of leads into Magneto confronting Cyclops. Now, when he does, you have Magneto ask Cyclops, like, where is Jean Grey? And the thing is, you have Scott tell Magneto that he has no idea who Jean Grey is, but also he was never married. And for the rest of the X-Men, they say the same thing as well. Now, another red flag would be Bishop, because you have Bishop be all like, listen, as a guy from the future, I can tell you that it's utopia for the mutant race. And so for Magneto, he knows, okay, there's something going on here. I gotta go. And for the rest of the X-Men, they begin to kind of act more aggressive towards Magneto, realizing that he may need to go down to the medical bay. Now, you do have Magneto stop them and fly away, but you do have Rogue be the one to go after Magneto to at least talk to him, to figure out what's going on with him, so they can understand what's going on with this situation. So once you do have Rogue confront Magneto, it's really more of Magneto just giving Rogue the full details of why he feels like there's something going on. The idea of the X-Men being celebrities, the idea of Hank being able to find the cure for the legacy virus, Scott being able to control his powers, like it's everything popping off left and right. That's him telling Rogue like none of those things make sense at all when it comes to us being the X-Men. Now, he does scare Rogue, and with him scaring Rogue, of course, you now have Gambit wanting to fight against Magneto. And so we do see a small battle take place between the two guys. But once the battle does stop, you then have Magneto say, listen, the only thing I want is people to listen to me, because I feel like there's something going on. And so for now, you're going to have Rogue and also Gambit give Magneto a chance to figure out what in the world could possibly be going on with the X-Men. Now, when it comes to Joseph, Magneto here, he does use Cerebro. What he does is that he puts in information about Jean Grey into the computer to hopefully locate her. And so once he does that, he does locate Jean Grey nearby. And so with him doing that, you now have Rogue and also Gambit kind of realize that maybe, just maybe, Magneto is onto something. And a matter of fact, as we do switch over to Jean Grey, we see that Jean Grey is currently a prisoner on the psychic plane. And right now, we see her trying to find a way out of this prison that her mind has been locked away in. But apparently somebody is not really trying to let her go. But getting back over to Magneto and Gambit and also Rogue, they do arrive at this grocery store, which is called Bullseye. And I kind of feel like this is just the Marvel's version to Target. But either way, you do have our heroes go inside the store. Now, all the different employees, they're trying to stop our heroes from going into one certain room that has been labeled employees only. But you do have our heroes kind of realize that all of these different people are also just being mind controlled as well. But either way, you do have our heroes being able to fight their way through all of these employees to go into that back room. And so once our heroes do enter that back room, they do find Jean Grey, who is currently like hooked up to all these different devices. Now you do have our heroes realize that she is completely unconscious, but you didn't have our heroes be confronted by the manager of the store. But at the same time, like the employees from earlier, this manager is also being mind controlled by somebody else. And so you do have this guy being able to take out Rogue and Gambit so that he's then able to have a one-on-one conversation with Magneto. And so when it comes to Jean Grey, we are then kind of given this flashback. Now with this flashback, we're kind of told like how Jean Grey got captured. And when it comes to Jean Grey, she got captured because she was now watching out for her surroundings, physically and also mentally. And so when it came to our mysterious character, he was able to take over someone else's mind and kind of use that person to walk up behind Jean Grey with a syringe to knock her out and then of course make her his prisoner. But as we do switch over to Magneto, we did see Magneto be confronted by the person who's behind all of this, and that would be Gamemaster. Now, when it comes to Gamemaster, he's a character we had talked about a lot in the past in our coverage over the X-Men. When it comes to Gamemaster, he was one of the leaders of the Upstart organization. The Upstart organization was a group of people who played this sick game where they would kill off other mutants as a way to receive points. Now, when it comes to Gamemaster, he loves the idea of playing games, hence the name Gamemaster, but also the fact that by this point in Marvel Comics, he was kind of tired of the idea of playing games that involved death and deception. And so what he wanted to do was play a new type of game. And he realized the X-Men are perfect for a new type of game. And the reason why, because the X-Men are always out there just risking their lives for both humans and mutants, but never ever getting anything in return. And so he felt like that would be a good idea of a new game for him to play with, to see what would the X-Men be like if they were finally able to get things in return for what they have done for the Earth. Now, with him doing that, you also have Magneto bring up a good question. Why get rid of Jean Grey then? Because for Jean Grey, she's next in line as a powerful psychic. And so for Gamemaster, he had to make sure to remove her off the board when it came to him playing his game. Because with Charles Xavier being arrested and locked away at the moment, Jean Grey is next in line. So of course that means after Jean Grey, it'll probably be like Psylocke. But either way, he had to remove Jean Grey to continue to play his game. Now for Magneto, he also learned how powerful Gamemaster truly is because he was able to keep Cyclops' powers in check, but also able to keep Rogue's powers in check as well. Because earlier we saw Rogue being able to kiss Gambit and touch Gambit. And so it's him kind of realizing that Gamemaster is truly a powerful person. But you also have Gamemaster tell us that when it comes to the legacy virus, the idea of Beast being able to find a cure, that was also a lie as well. The same thing goes for Bastion as well. And so for Magneto, he's realizing everything he saw was a flat out lie. Because again, when it comes to Gamemaster, he's a powerful psychic. But you also have him say, listen, how about this? Let's make a deal. Let me go ahead and get rid of Gambit for you, and you'll then be able to spend time with Rogue. Going back to the idea that for Rogue, she's in love with two guys, Gambit and also Magneto. And really, when it comes to Gamemaster, he really does try to make this deal with Magneto because he said, listen, if you are able to get rid of Gambit, that will allow you the chance to be with Rogue, but also look at what my powers can possibly stop. The idea of mutants across the world being targeted by the humans in different types of ways. I can protect the world for us. And the thing is, you gotta work with me. Now, we also learn here the reason why Gamemaster was not really able to get Magneto on his side is because, well, for some crazy reason, Magneto can't be mind controlled. Now, with all that being said, you then have Magneto begin to attack Gambit because it does seem like at first it's him kind of agreeing with the idea that the mutant race needs a better world. They need to be protected. If Gamemaster is offering that type of deal, then yes, for Magneto, he'll go ahead and take out Gambit, but also get the chance to be with Rogue. And really, when it comes to Magneto, his attack on Gambit was really used as a way to distract Gamemaster long enough to allow him the chance to really go after and free Jean Grey. And so with Jean Grey now being free, it allows her the ability to fight against Gamemaster. Now, this battle is not no long drawn out battle because you do have Gamemaster being able to escape very easily, but with him being gone, everything should go back to normal. Now, it's also Jean Grey informing us that while she was battling against Gamemaster, she was able to look into his mind. And with her doing that, she may have discovered where he's currently living at. And once you do have our heroes arrive at this supposed location for Gamemaster, well, they discover that he's not even there at all. That apparently he kind of left that piece of information in his mind to allow Jean Grey to find it to kind of trick her possibly. But when they do arrive, you do have Trish Tilby, the girlfriend to Beast, a reporter, kind of tells her how the world is still the way it was before the storyline. The idea of humans hating on mutants. And matter of fact, you had some doctors get attacked because they were trying their best to help mutants who may or may not have gotten the legacy virus. But either way, it's really more of our heroes kind of realizing that they all just got played. And the idea of them trying to move on from their dark past, there's always going to be somebody out there who will try their best to pull them back into that darkness. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. See y'all next time, guys. Later.